the conversations we are going to start right now is I ask Art Raymond and Tim McAtee to come on up here, and we're going to now have what I lovingly call a Socratic conversation on the subject. And see now that I've laid out what I consider some of the problems, we'll see if we can come up with some of the solutions. Because obviously, I'm just a curmudgeon who's being cynical just to be cynical. But I know my colleagues are going to have absolute solutions, and they're going to save the day, and I'll be trounced upon and beaten as unlearned and unscholarly. So gentlemen, what we're going to do, and just to say this way, we have about a half hour, 40 minutes to go. What we're going to do is we are going to have what I lovingly call a Socratic conversation on the subject, which you are all going to take part, because that's the cool part about being in a room like this. We can leverage each other's knowledge to try and solve some of the biggest problems that we have. I'm going to ask each of these gentlemen to self-introduce for a minute or two, make their opening statements. Then I'm going to ask questions. And as you can tell, I have a few opinions on the subject, but I am not going to agree with them if I can avoid it, because as you know, conflict drives ratings, and we're all about ratings in this room. So, you know, it's like when current TV does global warming, and everybody goes, they bring in a big panel, and everybody goes, global warming is warm, yes, and the climate's changing, and it's warm, and it's, so you get bored and you fall asleep. And then you get Bill O'Reilly doing climate change, and he puts a guy on there who believes in it, and a guy who doesn't believe in it, and they have a fist fight, and you can't take your eyes off it, because the conflict drives the ratings. So I will, maybe not be my opinion, but I will be the opposition wherever possible for your enjoyment. I'm doing this for you, not for me. Just want you to know that. Because we're here to entertain, inform, and enlighten today. So at some point in this conversation, it's going to become obvious that it wants to be interactive, which is like from the very beginning after their opening statements. And I would implore you, beg you, to come on down towards the front, pick up some seats down here. This is a small group. Let's make the best of it. You're here because you're all nerds. You're all TV nerds. And you know how I know that? It's a bright, sunny, gorgeous day in Silicon Valley, and you're all in here. So you all like this subject, and you all have opinions about this subject. So get on down here, sit down where we can see you, and become part of a discussion where we can think through together some solutions for some of these very real challenges. So without further ado, Tim, why don't you just start and say who you are, what you can do, and let's get this show on the road.
You got it. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Shelly. That was super impressive. I'm Tim McAtee. I'm the research director for the IPG Emerging Media Lab. We do all sorts of crazy, weird, futuristic research where we have digital billboards that watch you back, and you know, mobile devices that will change billboards as you walk by them, and you know, all this. So he gets the you know, the Propecia ad, and I get the babes, and it's pretty interesting stuff. Right now we've been getting into a lot of advanced TV work. We're actually working with Canoe on something right now. And I've done some pretty cool stuff with biometrics and TV watching, and actually looking at natural ad avoidance, which is literally just sticking a camera in a room and then using a computer algorithm to figure out whether or not they're paying attention. So yeah, lots of cool stuff, and that's me, and happy to geek out about it.
So obviously we got the memo this morning about the tan jacket, but I missed the one about the white shirt.
Yeah, I'm out of place. I don't know what. I don't know.
Oh no, we got the black shirt together. We just got the tan
You're
jacket.
right. You're right. We're in good shape. So I'm with a company. I'm Art Raymond. I'm with Levels Beyond. But we're in the space as it relates to this discussion. We're in the space that we work in an area where we structurally are trying to change the way video is managed and what is attached to video, and then basically help organizations, which you'll hate to a certain extent, help organizations move that content through a cycle, which today, when you want to go out to multi-screen and multi-channel, you're touching, you know, 10s, 20s, sometimes hundreds of different systems. I'm sure you guys deal with that all the time. And what we work with on both the retail brand side and on the MSO network side is working with people to basically, you know, have an infrastructure that enables them to go all the way out to that experience to a consumer or to an audience, come all the way back full cycle, and be able to understand at least what happened and what was going on. So it's just building out, you know, a new world infrastructure for that kind of play.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I love that. I think that's awesome. Anything that makes life more efficient. I mean, we are obviously in the infrastructure stage of the transition from industrial to the information age, and infrastructure is not sexy, but it's critically important. I'm not saying in any way that we shouldn't make things available.
Yeah,
I'm simply saying that if you want to make a business out of it, someone's got to pay for it. and just doing it. We're all using experimental money right now. There's a lot of experimental money out there. I'm a little sick of experimental money in this industry after 15 years. I would like to see big money. I'm a little greedy that way. It's like there's billions of dollars there. I'm getting millions of dollars. There's something wrong with that. If we're an industry, we need to, what is that? The definition of insanity is?
Doing the same thing over and over
Do the
again.
same thing over and over.
And expecting a different result. I would like a different result. The different result is, how do we change what we're doing right now? We have some challenges and opportunities. Let's talk about what TV Everywhere can and can't do, and what's standing in our way from being a profitable TV Everywhere world. Discuss.
If I can start off, I think we're kind of in the electric car phase, where there's no good reason why I can't just go to some, petroleum gas station and swap out my battery for a new battery, right? I mean, why don't they do that? I don't know. But what
You guys good down there? See, if you moved all the way down here, you could see us and be having fun. I'm going to sit with these guys, make it easier for the videographer. And I don't know why they don't do that. There's a bunch of reasons, but I do know that any solution to the electric car problem is going to have to include the several 100,000 gas stations.
Sure.
And because the four corners of almost
And the
every
oil
town.
companies, yeah.
Well, not about the oil companies, but the four corners of every town have a gas station on it, right?
Right.
So if you're not going to leverage that real estate, the economic impact to a town
yeah, it's devastating.
is pretty devastating. So
Right.
somebody's going to have to, the only way that gets
So-
solved is to leverage that. So that's
Yeah.
halfway making my point.
So if you have some upstart kid from Silicon Valley who says, we're going to decimate this industry because I've got a better way to do it, that kid's kind of an asshole, right? He's destroying an industry, and without replacing it with something that's economically viable and scalable yet. So I mean, you like living. I live in San Francisco. I deal with a lot of these startup guys, and it's really rare that they actually think about the implications of disruption. And I moved here from New York.
Should
where I'm
they
used to
think
big
about
money
the, I mean,
guys.
look, innovation for its own pure research, I don't think they need to think about the implications. Changing the world is an awesome thing, and the younger you are, and the more excited you are about doing it, and now the more empowered you are, the better it is.
So that's why I'm very excited about my virus lab in my basement. It's,
Yeah.
yeah. All sorts of cool stuff coming out of
That was funny. If you guys aren't going to laugh at that stuff,
is-
we're going to just amuse ourselves up here. We're not going to ignore you, because these guys are pretty interesting, and that was actually funny. If you don't start laughing, I'm going to get really pissed.
I mean, the truth is, the innovation is going to happen anyway. If that kid comes out and it's a great product and it changes the way we consume media or content in any way, it's going to win.
So but we have experienced a change. For example, this business was interactive television. Like this conference 10 years ago could have been called the Interactive TV or Advanced TV Conference. And we would have sat here and talked about, we would have hypothesized about how people would interface with either the set-top boxes or some device. At that time, the second screen was considered the desktop PC, and that no one really understood that the laptop was just starting to get serious, right? So the third screen is the cell phone, which seems a little misplaced, because the first screen in the world is the cell phone at this point. The second screen is the TV. And probably the third screen is the laptop. But interactive TV did evolve, right?
Yep.
People will co-view. They open up a chat window. They're with their friends. They're on Twitter. They're on Facebook. They're doing whatever they do interactively, both with the programming and with their friends.
Sure.
So we didn't get it right.
Well,
but Mark Zuckerberg created a technology that had nothing to do with watching television, that more people used to watch television than any other technology,
Well, actually, I did a survey.
other than TV itself.
I did a survey looking at distraction media, and one of the things that I found was that the level of distraction media was the same across all age groups. It was just the medium itself.
Define distraction media for this group.
Sure. So, I mean, any secondary, non-TV piece of information or communication device. So, be it phone, cell phone, text, mobile web, laptop, newspaper, magazine, all that stuff. Everybody multitasks. Everybody has something in their lap, and maybe it's a kid, maybe it's a cyborg interface with your buddy in Nairobi. Like it doesn't really matter. Like the point is that people are going to interact with with the primary screen content, and it's up to us to give them a reason to interact through our channels.
Okay, I accept that. I completely accept that. Talk to me about how TV Everywhere gets from concept to profitable deployed technology.
Well, but there's a big difference between deployed and profitable. like those are two. I mean, like
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
you have to. I mean, in much the same way that you know Steve Jobs' brilliance was about putting the entire ecosystem all out at once. You know, we kind of have to figure out a way to do that with TV, and because there's no TV monopoly, there's not the TV company. That's really difficult to do, and so Apple just reinvented the whole thing. They just said, "Screw you guys, we're just going to do this on our own." And maybe
Not
somebody,
a bad job, I might add.
Yeah. Maybe somebody has to do that, and I don't know. I mean, maybe, guys like Art, I think are building the framework. It's just a question of cooperation, which is, difficult in a capitalistic society.
Well, I think the tough answer to that question is what do we become in this industry? What do we become as networks and MSOs and those things? Because retailers, where we're experiencing retailers, and it's if you have not seen this last month's Harvard Business Review, it's fabulous. It's got about 4 articles on the future of retail. I think they're really well done, and they hit on the major points that we see at retailers. I mean, first of all, we're all connected and not connected as one person all the time.
Correct.
So they're trying to figure out, what's the place of the store and what is the new revolution of the store going to be? And obviously, Jobs and Apple have reinvented the store probably as well as anyone. But all those kinds of strategies that are basically going out to the multi-touch world of, how does my mobile device really help me as a retailer with my store, and how does it create a better relationship and a better sales experience inside my stores? I mean, they're really looking at those kinds of things. The innovative ones are, and the challenge in retail is that, and you know this well, a significant group doesn't even pay attention to it. They're afraid. They themselves rarely use the devices that all the customers that walk into their locations, their stores, or their online experiences use. So that's a big challenge if you're deep in that space and you understand what they're doing. So you have to come back to the question of, it's like the Mila Kunis quote from That 70s Show, "I want what I want when I want it," and what's so immature about that? It's great, and that is where consumers are, and connected devices now. I mean, it's the stats this last quarter were, I think, a doubling of usage of iPads, and especially iPads sitting back on weekends for certain demographics, and the stats from the plays in that area were, I think, 1% on Xbox experiences going on related to long form viewership of content and things. But if you want to get to young men 27 and under, Xbox was ruling the world, and in some studies it was 5%. So retailers are looking at all that.
Retail's looking at that also. Intel has some stats out. I don't know if this room cares that much about it, but there are approximately 2 billion people who are connected in the world. Approximately. Connected meaning they have access to the internet. By 2015, Intel wants to add 1 billion more to make it 3 billion. And by 2020, they're trying to figure out how they can get to 4 billion connected human beings on the planet. That is a fascinating thought process. How many more people can get connected, and how, when you give internet access, which by default means video access, to that many more people, and we're giving creation tools to that many more people. One of the things I think about TV Everywhere is that One of the things I think about TV Everywhere is that it helps.
Thanks.
It helps solve an attention problem that no one ever expected. People talked about user-generated content for years, and I think they talked about it incorrectly. They were talking about the cat coming down the driveway on a skateboard or whatever, or using a toilet, and everybody was trying to make a play around that. But the true user-generated content is demonstrated on Facebook every single day, the largest photo sharing site on the planet. By the way, who knows what Flickr is? Okay, Facebook adds a Flickr to itself every 4 days. For scale, just for scale. So what happens is I should be watching television, I could be co-viewing or doing something with a distracted device. But in fact, if someone goes to a great party and they put some video up, video is a high focus medium. I can do anything else while watching video except watch other video. I really can't watch 2 at a time, unless it's the same kind of content. And so, although I have seen some kids try to do that, and it's cacophony at a level that makes me very sad. But so if you're busy watching the video that your friends uploaded from last night's unbelievable party that you didn't make it to, or that you were in, what you're not doing is anything else, which is very unfortunate for a lot of people in this room. So with TV Everywhere, the ultimate opportunity is to say, look, wouldn't you rather be watching NCIS, or wouldn't you rather be watching Jersey Shore, or whatever it is, or 16 and Pregnant, or one of those other fine, culturally significant shows? Oh, that was funny, guys. See, 16 and Pregnant is about girls who are underage who are pregnant, and I said it was culturally lovely, and you didn't laugh. Forget you guys. All right, you know what? I have a way to get you guys back into this, because you didn't move your seats, which I'm really bummed about, honestly. So now I'm going to just ask. Oh, good. Nicely done.
And you're close.
So, okay, who wants to ask a question or make a comment or say something and push back? And yeah, let's go right here. Scream it out.
Okay, so the session's supposed to be on advertising, and I think where the world's going on advertising is it feels to me like advertising is going to turn into lead gen, because what the internet does particularly well is target people and is trying to close that last link to PayPal and actually sell something. And so we have one of the most successful sites right now that's looking to go public is this one where its target is all over ESPN. You guys, where you take all this data into a car company, and if you buy a car with that data, they send you $300. They send this company $300. So advertising kind of merging with commerce. Advertising merging with commerce on the internet feels to me like advertising is going to morph on the internet because it doesn't do reach well, but it may sell products, i.e. close the loop to what advertising always wanted to do. Could you talk about that in the future of advertising as kind of, I would call mushing? And I'm going to have Shelly go last because I've heard his voice a lot. So could you other two talk first on this topic, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things that TV is bad at is segmenting people by their point in the purchase funnel and their mindset. So, you know, I am actually in the market for a new car. I have not been in the market for a new car for the last 10 years. I've seen a ridiculous amount of car advertising in the last 10 years. And if somebody, you know, if this company were to come to me and, you know, and ping me with like, hey, you know, whatever, go buy this car, we're going to help you out with this data, you know, I would have tuned it out. I might have manually, physically figured out some way to block it. And by the time that I was actually ready to buy, you know, they would have missed their opportunity. So there has to be some sort of way for us to be discerning as advertisers about what message we're putting to people, you know, and really getting it at, you know, to the right time. That said, I think once you do that, you can see really dramatic, you know, huge monetary gains. I mean, just, you know, Groupon, for all its failings, I think was a pretty interesting example of how you can just make a ton of cash really quickly, you know, by doing something mildly innovative. So I don't know. I'll pass it on from there.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same place as you are. Obviously, we're doing a lot that relates to that. But I think, especially when you get into the retail side of, you know, where some of the big brands want to go and how they want to engage consumers, they're really looking for, you know, they call it like the omni-channel approach to how can I get context and relevance to a consumer. And I mean, that's the holy grail, all the time. Get my material in front of them in the moment and at the right time that they're ready to make decisions, and then they can execute right there. And that's where, when you look at the stats, you know, just on mobile usage, and where we're in a great position or a bad position, is video is one of the highest conversion engagement, you know, things that occur on mobile and iPads and, you know, tablets. And that usage is up, what, 100% last quarter. So, and it's really interesting, the demographics of who's using iPads on weekends, who's using it during the week, who's using it on commutes. I mean, the numbers are extremely powerful, and they're out there in terms of who's where at the right time. So hitting those audiences with, you know, highly engaging videos, the change to 15-second forms, the change to stories, and having 4 or 5 videos that are running around one particular product. Being really good at post-roll, mid-roll, you know, pre-roll, all that kind of stuff. What's the engagement rates of those kinds of insertions in longer form content? You know, the length of content that we have out there, things needing to become much more 5-minute, 10-minute, you know, length valued content elements, and then having still mid-rolls and post-rolls that relate to the consumer. I mean, all that stuff is huge. And the question is, who does it? Is it us? Is it the next generation? And, you know, really what we've got to become is like the Google and the Bing of the video space, or somebody's going to, and that's interesting. So You know, I'd love to even hear from you guys. What's your view on those challenges, and where are your companies going? Because that is the play. It's taken off like crazy.
Other questions? Sir.
Can you talk a little bit about how one of the challenges I see is a lot of the portals online have tons of behavioral data on their users, and they know about what they're looking for online, they know all sorts of things, yet they're unable to monetize that when they try to sell to video advertisers. The media buyers are still buying. If they're selling, you know, traditional TV types of ads, even if they're going to be delivered online, they're still accustomed to buying based on very broad demographic or psychographic buckets. Do you see any way for some of these portals that are online that have a lot of behavioral data to better monetize that? And how are the media buyers who are used to buying for the big brands based on those smaller buckets adopting to the capabilities of buying for targeted audiences?
Okay.
Take a shot.
How many advertisers do you know that make 100 versions of the same ad that are all micro-targeted based on the viewer's point in the purchase funnel? Like, any? None. Why not? Make the ads and we can target them.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. You said the right word. Hold on.
So
Yeah, it was that.
So make cheaper ads. I mean, I'm sorry, but I made a website last weekend for free. You know, I sat down, it spent 6 hours, I made a website. I'm just saying, like, the economics of creativity have radically changed over the last 10 years, and you can do really amazing work for a lot less money. And I think if you're just going to keep shouting one message to the entire universe, you know, I mean, it's the definition of insanity.
Yeah, you know, look, this is such a systemic problem that cannot be answered in any soundbite answer, and we have soundbite time on a panel like this. There were 6 agencies involved with every major brand, minimally. The buying agency is only one. There's a planning agency, a creative agency, a digital agency. There's probably an outdoor group and a PR group. They're all fighting for social media because they all think that they can be brand partners and marketing partners. And only the buyers and the planners have any kind of POV, and the digital agency have 3 of the 6 on buying what you're talking about. And the problem is that each of their POVs has to be no, because it's not inside their agenda. And they make money, they're governed, they make money differently than the enterprise makes money. So when you talk about behavioral data, you have to ask who it helps. You really have to ask who it helps. We just heard a second ago about, well, won't the internet and won't advertising and digital advertising sort of metamorphose into lead generation? The answer is yes. There's a great silo of lead generation, and it's incredibly effective. And you can go to whole conferences that are 10 days long. You could spend, in this town, you go to a conference every 3 days about lead generation and the efficacy of that kind of online and digital convergence. Fantastically great business for a lot of my clients, but that's only one silo of advertising. When you start talking about video advertising on television and you start segmenting it, first you have to ask which buyer, because there's no such thing as the buyer, and what behavioral and what portal. We find ourselves in a lot of high-touch, high-calorie situations. What we are lacking desperately is unified metrics, standardization, so that you can, in a very big way, bring this product to the advertisers and say, and I mean advertisers, I mean the ecosystem that is an advertiser, all 6 of their agencies, including the marketing department, including the merchants inside the organizations, and say, look, you can buy this efficaciously and it will make you money by driving velocity at retail. And until we as an industry get that together, or somehow magically Martin Sorrell's destruction of the structure of the advertising business is reversed, and we see creative agencies and buying and planning groups come together and become whole agencies again, where they can actually look at a problem and go and solve it until the holding company model goes away, which I don't think it's going away. That's like a little wishful thinking. I think your question is unbelievably hard to answer in a soundbite. And I mean, I've gone on too long now, and I haven't scratched the surface of the systemic issue that answers your question. But your question is so unbelievably important. Like, we could do a whole conference on it.
Yeah, you could. The evolution, though, I think to your question, the evolution started now. I mean, there are some great companies, and they were doing the exact thing you're talking about. Great ad production levels with nice template management happening and product insertion happening based on context to a consumer with an affinity towards particular brand products at a point in time. I mean, there's a lot of neat stuff that's starting to just begin to happen in that space and starting to come together. And it really ties to the lady's question over here, which is just right on down to like the right lead for the right person at the right time, and all of that is coming together. We're seeing with the retailers that they're actually, some of them are actually smart enough now that they're starting to look at and understand that I do have 6 agencies. I have distribution going on, you know, across 100 different platforms out there in the world and things. I'm all over the place. I actually do need synchronization and coordination. And if we don't do it, we're not going to get it from our agencies, and we're not going to get it from the media partners we have. So they are waking up and starting to see those kinds of things, and the types of systems that do that are starting to come into the market. So, but you'd think they would just be here because it makes so much sense, and the evolution that I see is it's starting now, and it's starting to move in. So.
Yeah, inertia is kind of a very powerful force.
Yeah.
Last word, Tim.
Yeah, just to that point, I think a big problem that all of us are facing is procurement offices, because as long as procurement offices are, you know, trying to get the cheapest everything out of everybody, you're always going to be battling each other, and it's never going to be any sort of coherent strategy.
Yeah.
Wow, say that out 3 times fast, because that, yeah, what he said. It's 10 o'clock, which means that it's our witching hour. We are taking a networking break now, so all of you can go outside, drink heavily, and start to network. Let's thank our panel, Tim and Art. You guys are awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being innovation nerds and sharing this time with us, and we'll see you back here in 15 minutes or so for the next panel. Thank you.